You're listening to the Infinite Banking Mastery Podcast. Did you know that you could build a tax-free pool of wealth that's liquid and accessible all your life while building your retirement nest egg? Gain full control of your financial future and stop relying on the government and banks. The wealthy have already discovered this wealth-building secret. Now it's your turn to get financially secure without following the conventional wisdom that keeps you in debt to banks. Now here's your host, Valerie LaRocque.
Hello, and welcome to the Infinite Banking Mastery Podcast. Thank you so much for being here. I hope you all have been doing well, had a great week, and maybe some new and exciting things going on. We have had something new happening over here. We recently got a little puppy, and he is the cutest thing ever. Also a lot of work. Of course, it was supposed to be my children's puppy, and it is, except that since I work from home, he actually is my puppy, I would say. He's with me all day. And so it's been a lot of fun trying to figure out how to train this puppy. I'm getting better at it, and the dog is doing well. He is a Lab Weimaraner mix, just a beautiful dog. Anyhow, enough about that. I wanted to share today one of my favorite things to teach clients. And this is another one of those episodes where I'm going to try to talk through something that's mathematical. So it'll be a little bit hard to follow, maybe. Hopefully it won't be. I'm going to speak it out as simplistically as I possibly can. And that will just, hopefully we can get through it and maybe you can visualize it. Of course, if you think I'd be a great advisor for you and you would like to work with me, you can certainly reach out and I can show you live what everything looks like so that you can see it in front of your face and it will make sense. So today I wanted to talk about average versus actual return. And really what I mean is that when you in your life see a portfolio of mutual funds or investments or something, oftentimes or most times you're seeing the average return on that. So I'm trying to talk about this topic and also not talk about this topic so as not to make compliance angry. So I'm not going to talk about anything specific, but I do want to share just the difference between what you think you're seeing with the average return and what's actually happening. So to start off really simplistically, if you have a piece of paper nearby, or maybe you can get one, this will help you to visually see it. If you draw out $1,000, let's just start with $1,000. And right next to it, you draw out, this is what I do for people, that the market had a really bad day and it lost 50% in one day. And so everybody, of course, is freaking out. It's been a real bad day in the market, gives everybody a bad day. But then thankfully, the very next day, the market bounces back and it's up by 50% the next day. So people might be wiping their brows. Oh, whew, that was scary. Went down 50 and up 50. At least I'm okay. But if you look at your $1,000 and what actually happened, because the average, if you figure it out, is zero. You add the 50 and the negative 50 together and then you divide by 2, it's going to be zero. So your average is zero. So people are thinking, whew, I'm okay. But what actually happened to your money? So you had $1,000, the market tanked, doing down 50%. So you're at $500. And then the market bounced back up 50%. And so 50% of 500 is 250. So you're back to 750 from 1,000. So you're actually negative 25%. So in that scenario, if something like that were to happen, the market would actually have to come back by 100% to get you back to where you were. And a lot of people don't think through that. When you have a dip, it has to come back by more than what it fell in order to get you back to where you were. So I like to do this 20-year snapshot just to share with people the difference, what it looks like, the average versus actual of what happened over that 20-year time period. And so if we look over the 20-year time period from 2000 to 2019, if we just run what did the best during that time period, we have the S&P 500, which did really great. And I have this cool software that will show all this math out so that you can see it really clearly. This like basically financial calculators. It's called Truth Concepts and anybody can purchase it. So if we're looking over the years 2000 to 2019, it will show, this Truth Concepts software will show that the S&P 500 with dividends did the best during that time period. And so if I'm using those returns over that 20-year time period, it gives me an average return of 7.63%. Great, right? Great average. But if we just simply add money from day one and let it ride the market, automatically our return goes down to 6.04 from 7.63 simply by running money through the ups and downs. Because remember, when there is a negative, you have to come back by more than that amount to get you back to where you were. So it's not so bad. Actual versus average, 7.63 versus 6.04. But we have to keep in mind there are other things going on. For example, fees. You're going to have to pay fees to have this account with an advisor, or also even if you're running it yourself, you're going to have investment fees, mutual fund fees, expenses. There's just going to be some fees. So if I put in 1.5%, if you're working with someone and you have underlying fees for that investment, now your actual return goes down to 4.45%. And so it's going down. And then we have to consider your tax bracket, because this will be taxable. It will be taxable at any point, but if it's in a retirement account, it will be taxable later. But then if you're in a tax bracket of, say, 24%, that brings your actual return now down to just over 2%, 2.23. So your average was 7.63. But then you had some fees, and then the market, when you ran the money through, it came out to be different, and then your tax bracket. And we haven't even considered inflation yet. So if we're at an actual return of 2.23 and we have, let's just say, a teeny tiny inflation amount, which is unlike what we've experienced this year, of 2%, well, you know where that's headed. Actual return goes down to 0.23%. So I just like to paint this picture to help people understand what is going on and see a more clear picture when they're trying to decide where to put their dollars. Do you want to take a whole ton of risk and have an actual return that's actually much lower than what you see on the documents in front of you when you get your quarterly statements or your annual statements? Or would you prefer to protect some of those dollars and make sure that they are going to be there, that they're guaranteed to be there, that you have access to this pool of cash and will be tax-free when you want to access those funds, that you can access them in at least in a tax-free way? I think that for the amount of risk that we actually are taking, that you can't really tell when you're just looking at documents that you receive from your particular companies, wherever you have your funds, you can't really see what's actually happening. And so knowing that there is a lot more risk than you're seeing, me personally, I would rather protect as many of my dollars as I can and have them grow on a guaranteed basis that I can access all my life for the things that I need so that I can finance my purchases, my future purchases, the things I need or want to invest in, my business. I'd rather do that with a good amount of my savings dollars than to have them all at risk and for possibly a return that could be lower than what I would receive on a guaranteed basis inside of my whole life contract. In addition, of course, we can't forget the other benefits of the whole life contract with the extra riders that you have in case you have a critical illness, a chronic illness, or a terminal illness, how you can access a portion of the death benefit. And also, of course, you'll leave a legacy. Whereas the money you have in a different type of account that you might be saving for retirement or something like that, if something happens to you and you pass away, your family will receive that account minus any taxes, and that's what they will receive. As opposed to if you had the same amount of dollars in a life insurance policy, your family is going to get a much more sizable tax-free legacy from you. So that's all I have for you today on this topic. And of course, as I mentioned before, if you'd like to see it visually and to help you really learn and get a better understanding of the infinite banking concept and how it could apply in your life, please reach out. I'd be happy to help you, to share this calculation with you and explain it in person, or at least over Zoom, depending on where you're located. Thank you for listening in. And if you'd like to reach out, you can reach me at Valerie@alphaomegawealth.com. I hope you have a great week. I will talk to you again next time. Take care.
This is thepodcastfactory.com.